Hello, friends, and welcome to the Cinemondo podcast with Kathy and Burk. And we like from time to time to talk about documentaries about that are concerned with true crime. I know it's like a really hot topic in the world of streaming and all that. There's tons of true crime documentaries,
Tons.
and very good friend of ours makes some of the best ones, Joe Berlinger. We're not going to talk about one of his movies today, but Kathy and I were
in a couple of his movies.
Kathy and I were in a couple of Joe Berlinger's true crime documentaries, and sort of are entrenched in that realm because she and I and a couple of our friends, Grove and Lisa, and various other people, were a part of the story in a weird way. So if you ever want to see us in another context, look up the Paradise Lost documentaries on HBO or elsewhere. I think they're streaming in other places now, but there's about a murder case that happened in the 90s and in Arkansas. But another murder that
Paradise Lost.
Paradise Lost.
Yeah. Did you say that already?
Yeah.
Damn it. Yeah. Okay, go ahead. But that's not what we're talking about today, is it?
But we're talking about another murder case that happened in the South. It's a similar kind of, similar vibe in some ways, where there's corruption and cover-ups and weirdness involving trying to frame people. And it was I had heard about this case on the news, when I saw the guy and I saw the little snippets of the trial, and I would hear little additions, but I didn't keep up with it very much. My sister is very into true crime, and she told me about it. She knows all about it. And then Kathy told me, check out this documentary on Netflix called The Murdaugh Murders.
Crazy.
South Carolina murder story, where, and I'm sure if you've glanced at the news from time to time, you've heard about this guy, Alec Murdaugh, who was just recently, a few days ago, like last week, he was convicted of all counts.
Found guilty.
Guilty. And
Guilty.
Of the thing that is the most alien nightmare I can imagine, he killed his own son and his own wife. And who knows how many other people. I had only heard about the wife and the son being murdered, but this film opens up with something else.
That's what's so fascinating about it, is that you think it's about one thing and it becomes another thing and then another, and then it completely it explodes into what is happening? Like so many crimes, so much terrible shit. But we're going to show the trailer just for a taste as we're talking about. This is mostly a review. It's not really a trailer reaction, but we want you guys to see the faces of the people involved, kind of the context of the film and the environment that they're in. So we'll take a quick look at that.
Because I like documentaries that go into something in a way that you feel like, oh, maybe they're innocent at first, but then they pile on something else. You're like, oh no, they're guilty. And then something else happens. And you're like, wait, maybe they're innocent.
It's just inconceivable that father.
The one person that I did everything with.
He would have given anything to protect her.
Everyone was like, Paul, don't drive. And Paul would snap back.
The first criminal.
This is my fucking boat.
Yeah.
He was out of his mind drunk.
Y'all know Alec Murdaugh? That's his son.
I heard a scream.
That's his son.
Bang.
Oh, what bridge is this?
And then that's when we all started screaming for Mallory.
Alec wasn't worried about finding Mallory.
He wanted to make sure that lips were sealed.
They were more worried about a cover-up.
5 made it ashore alive. Mallory Beach did not.
Paul had been receiving threats from strangers.
He was scared.
Speculation is running wild.
For over a century, the Murdaughs were law and order here in the 14th century.
The family was under increasing amount of stress.
My wife and child.
It didn't seem real at the time.
The double homicides of Maggie and Paul really changed everything.
I think this may very well be related to the death of Mallory Beach. What was the
Nancy
motivation
Grace.
other than
The worst. I wish they hadn't shown that.
Up and bodies tied to this family.
The Murdaughs would just make someone disappear.
There were so many rumors that Buster and Steven were intimate together.
Steven's death is now intertwined with the Murdaugh.
Gloria had found
Open that
drugs
case.
under Alex's bed.
She knew too much.
Moselle. It's like massive playground.
The way Paul told it, it was for drugs and strippers and everything. You can't believe everything Paul says, neither.
They were okay with us drinking. They always get us alcohol.
You drink like that to escape.
This is the fall of a dynasty. It's a fall from grace.
I do believe that Alec Murdaugh would kill Paul and Maggie.
There you are, scared for your life.
That's
It's
a great
either
shot.
do or die.
Yeah.
Just unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's
And-
amazing because that seemed like it starts as one crime, the
Yeah.
cover up of the son's a reckless, DUI boat driving accident that killed someone, and then it turns into lots more shit. Way
Well,
worse. Not worse.
What
way
happens
more.
is it's one of those crime families in the South that, people think that when they hear gangsters and organized crime, they think of New York or Chicago or something, or LA, and they think of gangsters. They think of the Godfather or whatever, or the mafia, but
Yeah.
there is the exact same hierarchical structures and criminal behavior, the same motivations, the same passionate protection of family, that kind of thing. It goes on in the South, and it has a different flavor to it. Some people call it the Dixie Mafia. We've encountered a little bit of that,
Definitely.
and we've been in the room with these people.
We
And
have.
we've been threatened by these people. But the thing about this story is one thing that struck me about it was I grew up a long time before the events of this film. I was these are teenagers, but I was a teenager many years ago in the South. But good Lord, this looked like my teenage years and sounded like these kids have not changed. I mean,
No.
the things that they're doing, their goals and their sort of lack of any kind of ambition or real happiness. It's like it seems like they're going from point A to point B to point C to drink and to get messed up as
Strippers,
possible.
drugs, alcohol. Like, really,
And
you guys?
killing
That's all
animals.
you got?
It's like, let's go out and
Ugh.
get drunk and kill animals. And it's just
gross.
that kind of lifestyle. That's why I'm no longer living there. But it's just this ugly lifestyle that doesn't seem to be going anywhere, and it doesn't really matter because they're so loaded, they're so full of money, and they can make something disappear if it makes them uncomfortable. They can not worry about getting arrested because all they have to do is call.
Counted on.
Yeah,
They were at the top of the food chain. Like, he was in
Yeah.
one of the most powerful families, one of the most powerful law firms in that city. And you see how beautiful it was. It was so idyllic. And it just doesn't seem like the place anything bad would happen. And so I think in a way they kind of relied on, first of all, people don't want to believe it. And then
Right.
secondly, his family was like an institution. This is not
Yeah.
something that, anyone would ever think this family would do. And then, of course, what does it come down to? Drugs, addiction, secrets, cover-ups. And it's like, it always, the powerful, it always comes down to that when it comes to their fall
Yeah.
every time. So here's Alex Murdaugh, who's
they
willing to
have
do anything to keep this secret. And also, not only that, not just murders, is like embezzling so much money, like millions of dollars. For
Yeah.
what?
Forgot about that. Yeah, there's also that.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, just
the-
insane.
And it's one of those things too, you look at it and it's like these people, I mean, from our perspective, when we look into the lives of people in documentaries, we're looking into these lives of these people who have so much money and such a beautiful house and a beautiful multiple acres.
What
And
could you want?
they have boats, they go out on the river and they go fishing. And it's like, what an idyllic lifestyle. Like
They have a
Easy
dog
Street.
kennel, like multiple
Yeah.
dogs and a kennel, hunting dogs. It's like it was the classic Southern fried family, like beautiful, like just the South. Everything you think of, like the rich South, is exactly what they were. I
They
mean,
have
this
it
is
made. They got
definitely going to be a movie. It's going to be such a good movie. It's like there's
Yeah.
way too much going on in this, let alone like the kids who were out of control never had to face any repercussions for bad behavior, including this. I love that they're all like, "Oh, is this his son?" Well, nothing's going to happen, and sure enough, nothing really happened.
It's gonna be Woody Harrelson playing the dad, I think, or Matthew
No.
McConaughey. Maybe not
Oh,
Matthew
God.
McConaughey, but it's that Southern Gothic crime family thing.
Southern Gothic. That's it. Yeah.
And it's similar to the other, you know, when you think of other crime families
Yep.
that get away with things over and over
Mhm.
because they're wealthy, because they have so many
Yeah.
people that are clinging to them,
Mhm.
like, you know, a former president I can think of who got away with who gets away with everything because
Everything.
it's a cult, you know, and there were
Yeah.
people in this Murdaugh family in that town. Is a small town,
Yeah.
and the Murdaugh family was like a cult. Everybody was afraid of them. Everybody
Completely.
was everybody, you know, was like, oh, it's the Murdaugh family, you know. And that
It's
that
just
finally fell down, and it's like you're looking at this thing, and it's like the one, you know, like what was the moment in the story? I mean, you have to watch the documentary. I don't want to give too much away, but there is a moment in the story where you see
Yeah.
it kind of went it tilted a
Yeah.
little bit out of their favor for just a second, just long enough,
Mhm.
and it was like all the
Oh.
dominoes started falling.
Just so yeah, and then all of a sudden it started uncovering things that weren't even involved to the original crime, and now they're reopening other crimes that seem suspicious. It just
Yeah,
it's a really good documentary that shows, like, how the rich and powerful can basically be above the law for a very long time, but
yeah,
sometimes it just takes few little tiny little cracks in the veneer that can open up a floodgate because this guy had it all. He had
yeah,
all the power. He intimidated everyone. No one wanted to go against these people because if you did, as some like your politicians we were talking about, if you do try and take them on, it becomes a complete like firestorm of retribution against you. So
yeah.
everyone was afraid of them.
You
That just took
become
a
a loser, and
few
you get
people. Right.
destroyed, you know? Yeah, and
And
who knows
also he
how many
just
times that happened.
in his arrogance, he just pushed the limit on so many
Yeah,
levels. Like he just went too far. He killed a
yeah,
few people that, you know, there are a few people were like, well, I guess it could have been anything, like, you know, strangers, or like you're saying, like the boy that possibly had the affair with the other boy or the maid. Like people are like, well, maybe she did fall down the stairs. So it's like you're getting these like, we don't need to look too closely at this. But then when his own wife and son die, it's like, wait a minute. This is not your average crime. This is a high profile crime. Sadly, rich people are treated differently in the crime system. They just are. And this is
yeah.
a perfect example of that. How long this man got away with so many crimes, let alone embezzling and killing and murders and cover ups of murders. And oh my God, it's so full of stuff.
They never have to pay for their crimes because they pay for them
Mm-mm.
with money, and,
That's right.
you know, if you got and they also can afford a really good attorney too when they do get caught. So crime and justice is different for people who have
It
money.
is.
I mean, imagine if I did this, you know, or some other person who is even,
That's right.
like a poor person off the street, or a teenager or
Mhm.
something in high
That's
school,
right.
or somebody that you can use as a scapegoat who
Yeah.
can't defend themselves, or somebody
That's right.
who's a little bit limited mentally. A
Yeah.
lot of times people like that are brought in as scapegoats because they can't defend themselves. They're going to say something stupid and incriminating
Right.
if you tell them to. They'll say what you want, and so there's so many ways that people can be manipulated into being followers. And sadly, it's a lot of very gullible people who
Yeah.
fall into the fan base of these
Mhm.
wealthy people, and
That's
the
right.
wealthy people exploit people. They exploit people like livestock. They use them like
Right.
cattle. It's like,
Mhm.
to them, you are a resource. You are
Means
something
to an
to be
end. That's it.
you are something to be consumed.
And if
And
you are a problem, just get rid of you. That's it.
right.
Nobody's gonna care. I mean,
If
that's
you're
exactly what this
out of
was.
the way, yeah, and
Yep. So
it's
yeah,
a yeah,
definitely take a look at this documentary. We don't want to say too
yeah.
much, even though we said too much, even though it's out in the public, this isn't like a spoiler thing because it is public crime. But yeah, so definitely take a look at this documentary. It's very in depth. It's got a lot of good interviews with people who were there on the scene. So
And
take
it
a look.
ends before the conviction. So if you've heard the
Yeah,
news lately, he was convicted, and
that's right.
that's not a spoiler. Sort of is,
No.
but it's not a spoiler. But you can watch this knowing that
Mhm.
it doesn't not to say that it has a happy ending,
Yeah,
but it has an end, the ending that it should have. It
that's
doesn't.
right.
There's some crime documentaries, first Paradise Lost film,
Hmm.
first and second one that I can think of,
Yeah,
that did not have a satisfying ending. They end on a
yeah,
sour note
yeah.
of the person being convicted, and you're like, they're innocent though, but this one, they're
Hmm.
guilty. And
guilty.
As you watch it, you know, you feel like there's really no other answer to this.
No other answer. All right. So be sure and check out Joe Berlinger's films about the West Memphis case. They're amazing. They basically are the template for what has become the true crime phenomenon. His cinema verite is like a little bit before, a little more elevated, but he was there first.
Yes, and watch all of his other films too. I mean, anything with Joe Berlinger's name on it is going to be worth watching it. Yeah.
I know. I see his name. I'm like, I'm watching it. You should too. All right.
Yeah.
See you guys later.
Bye.